What's up, y'all? My name is Philip Jordan. I am the host of the SEC Brawl podcast. For more SEC content, go to the description below and you subscribe to the podcast to get the full episode. Joining me right now is John Vogel. He is the senior NFL draft writer for the Brawl Network. And, of course, a name, we're sticking with the SEC guys, quarterback, because, look, I'm obsessed with the position. I think, we all, love the position, who's going to go where. And you always get this year, every year there's this quarterback that rises, and some guys that fall, too. And Mac Jones seems like a guy, he's really risen. I mean, it's especially even more after season ended. He had a great year. Obviously, he was a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. Where are you on this hype that has come now with Mac Jones here in the last few weeks as we're heading more and more into this draft season?
Right. So I'm buying on Mac Jones. I've had him as a top 15 prospect, since the national championship game. I think he's a very good quarterback entering this class, not necessarily because people, they're going to point at the arm. I don't think the arm is all that much of a worry. It's just more of, he's going to lack mobility. He's not going to have that going for him, but he does everything else. He can make just about any throw within 20, 30 yards of the line of scrimmage. That's something that Joe Burrow did really well last year, and we all regarded him as first overall prospect. But it's his ability to throw the ball accurately and to place the football ridiculously well, and that's what he does. He reads defenses, he sees things going, and he does these little things very well. And I think that's something that it's going to count. And I wrote an article last week on the Brawl Network about Mac Jones and this rise that he's seen and why that's happened. And it has a lot to do with the fact that the guy makes the little things happen, keeping his head calm when he's about to take a hit, making a crazy throw through a window, timing it perfectly to the open receiver who's opening through that window. So he just sees things in a different way. He's got a different attitude about him. The NFL loves him.
Yeah, something with him, I was very impressed with, that start he had against Auburn in 2019. He throws 2 pick sixes in that game.
Most quarterbacks wasn't on him either. It really wasn't.
Yeah, and the thing about it, what impressed me was the confidence. Both times he brought Alabama right back down the field and scored touchdowns. I mean, it was like there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, look, he had made starts going into that game, but that was his first big start going on the road. And remember, that was a defense that had Marlon Davidson and Derrick Brown on the front. I mean, that was a really good Auburn defense that year. And just the mentality of that, the mental strength to just like, okay, like you said, it wasn't on me, but come back. I mean, that's got to be a big thing NFL people are going to look at with him too, because one, he just doesn't get rattled, and that's a big thing for a guy who really, when you look at it, did not have that much experience coming into the year, and even just 1 year, not a lot of experience coming into the NFL.
That was the biggest thing that people took away from him at the Senior Bowl too, when he went down there. Worked out with Matt Rule at the Carolina Panthers. Like, just the fact that he keeps his composure and he has a different mental, chip that not a lot of guys have. And I think that's why he has the intrigue that he does. And I think there's a very good chance that he goes top 10. That's what we're kind of hearing over here at the Brawl, is that he's going to probably go be the third quarterback off the board, top 10.
Yeah, and with Mac Jones, another thing I was wanting to get your thoughts is how do you see him measuring? Of course, Trevor Lawrence, we know he's going to be the number 1 pick. That's the guy. I mean, that would be the biggest upset in all of NFL, all football history, almost. I think if something happened and Trevor Lawrence didn't go number 1, but when you line him up against the other guys like Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or Trey Lance, I mean, how do you see, Mac Jones against those guys?
The only thing that you can really take away that he doesn't have is the arm velocity. He doesn't drive the football with a lot of the velocity that you see Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields driving it with. That's not to say that he doesn't have an arm and he can't make deep throws. That's just saying that at times you have to have a little bit of a velocity. He's more of a touch thrower, a finesse type thrower, I guess you could call it. But outside of that, I mean, I think he's got a leg up on these guys. I have him graded higher than Wilson. I have him, right there with Fields. The only difference is the fact that he's not increasingly mobile. And even that, it's not that big a concern. He can move well enough in the pocket to extend plays.
Yeah, I think sometimes, just for me personally, that gets kind of overblown. Oh, wow, he's a great runner. Well, I mean, Tom Brady's not a great runner, but he's good with his feet in the pocket. Getting where you need to get in a certain spot in the pocket. And that's, I think that's a really important part of the game. Now, when we look at Kyle Trask, from Florida. Now, it seemed like a lot of the season when he was putting up the big numbers, you saw his name as a first-round pick. But, as we've got the season, this guy looks like he's going to be a day 2 pick. Is not going to be in the first round. With Kyle Trask, what would do you see him translating over to the NFL? And, where do you see him ranked, on your board?
I think the biggest question with Kyle Trask is, where is his upside at this point? Where's his ceiling? And when you're capping, that's when you're projecting players. That's one of the biggest questions that you always have is, where am I projecting this guy to be in 5 years? And Trask is one of these guys that I think he can be good. He can be a mid-level starter because he's got the arm and, he showed the accuracy too. And, I can't knock Trask and not knock Jones, but he had Kyle Pitts to throw to, and he had, Kadarius Toney, and he had some really great weapons that really helped him out. Then you look at that Oklahoma game where everything just kind of fell apart, and that's what the NFL is really worried that he comes to. So I think at worst, he's a very good backup quarterback, somebody who'll drift around the league for 10, 15 years doing that, because he's very smart. He understands the game. The biggest thing that he just doesn't have going for him right now is the fact that, he didn't play most of high school.
Yeah. And that's the kind of funny thing when you look at both Mac Jones and Kyle Trask. These are not guys, when they arrived on campus for either place that you would have thought would have come to this point, would have been Heisman Trophy candidates. Like you said, Kyle Trask, he was behind De'Aaron King in high school. And then Felipe Franks gets hurt and he gets his opportunity. Mac Jones, I think he had 2 offers, Alabama and Kentucky. And he initially was going to go to Kentucky. He went to Alabama. And I guess that's another good thing about Jones. He likes competition because he was behind Jalen Hurts and Tua. So, but it is kind of, I've always thought, this past year where it led us to an SEC championship game, that was a cool story that these are 2 guys that fought to get where they're at. They were not handed anything. They weren't 5 stars, and they improved and they developed over their time.
And I agree. And I definitely don't want to say that Trask isn't going to be something in the league. He definitely has the tools to do it. And it's just whether he puts it all together, whether he gets the experience that he needs or not to put it all together. That's the question.
You talk about the Senior Bowl. I know Kellen Mond came out as the MVP of the Senior Bowl game. And he is a guy, obviously Kellen Mond has all the tools to be really, really good. He's athletic. He's got arm talent. He's got the ability to run. And he was one of the guys, I think the best way for me to sum up Kellen Mond's college career was inconsistent. He'd have that one game every year where you say, okay, this is it. He's turned the corner, but then he kind of stepped back. Like this year, the Florida game, and then 2 years ago, there was the Clemson game. With him, where do you see Kellen Mond?
I think he did himself a lot of favors when he went to the Senior Bowl and performed as well as he did in the game. And he didn't have a bad week of practice. It wasn't great. Again, I think this is another guy that's a career backup. I don't think Mond really has the NFL upside that you want, and its consistency is the biggest thing. We see this leash is becoming shorter and shorter on quarterbacks in the NFL every year. And if he doesn't get some time to develop and to get better and more comfortable in an offense, it's not going to happen with him in the league. And I think that's the big question mark is it's going to depend on where he is, where he goes. Is he going to get that time? But yeah, no, he's very mobile. He's got a very strong arm. And those are tools that the NFL really likes right now. It's just, can he read a defense consistently? Can he see the throwing lanes that you want him to see? Is he going to be accurate enough at the next level? Because sometimes his placement's way off. I like to kind of characterize 2 different types of placement. I call one box accuracy and I call one pinpoint. And pinpoint's usually in a very close circle, and it's right where the ball needs to be. And you see people like Joe Burrow, Mac Jones, Tom Brady, they have this pinpoint accuracy. Then you see these other guys, kind of like Carson Wentz, that has the big arm. Kellen Mond would be one of these guys. I think Kyle Trask is too, where they get it to around the area, but the receiver has to make a big play on it. And I think that's kind of Mond's issue, is he kind of suffers from a bad case of box accuracy.
Thank you for listening to this clip of SEC Brawl. If you like what you heard here and you want more great SEC content, go in the description below, click the links, and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify.